Hello everybody, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. I am talking a little bit low because Claire, I just put her down. As you can see by the title of this vlog, I am reading Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and I'm so excited. I wanted to do this vlog so that I could talk to you about the differences and similarities of the book and the movie. And maybe I'm thinking maybe we'll go more in depth with certain characters' lives, maybe, and how they feel. I'm wondering if this is gonna be written like first or third person, or how it's gonna be written. So I haven't even seen how it's gonna be done, but I'm pretty stoked about this. It's how many pages? This book is 458 pages. So this will probably take me a few weeks to finish, depending on, I usually just read during naps, but there could be times where I read at night. It just really depends on what TV show or movie is on. So, and if Matt wants to play video games, because there's this new, like, thing with Call of Duty where they have, like, a Halloween version until November. So he's probably going to want to play that. Watch that movie Rebecca tonight on Netflix, because they put that up. But I don't know if he really cares to watch that. So I might watch that by myself if he wants to go play games with his friends. Anyways, I'll keep you guys updated on this book. So I'm on page 18 and I already have some thoughts. It's crazy how the openings are kind of different. There's been 2 scenes so far that didn't happen in Jurassic Park, but the second scene is very, very similar to the opening scene on The Lost World, that second movie. And so, where that little girl, sees the green dinosaur, and in the movie you think she dies, but in this one it just showed one creature and how, and it bit her arm and stuff, and they take her to the hospital and stuff. But in the movie, I think she obviously dies because there were so many of them jumping on her, and then the mom screams when they see her. So there's that scene going on right now, and there was an opening scene where this helicopter with the engine company name on it came, and this guy was like mauled, and they said it was from construction, but obviously it was from a dinosaur. And he said raptor, but they didn't know what raptor meant, and they were trying to figure out if it was a Spanish word because it's an island near Costa Rica, and they were English, and then they looked it up and found out that it means bird of prey. And so, yeah, so it's cool, these scenes going on. I don't know if there's going to be another different scene. It's talking about different locations. So, those are my thoughts already, and what a cool difference, because I'm expecting it to be exactly like the movie type thing, but I'm glad it's not. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of similarities, but I'm really cool. The beginning is, I love the writing so far. It really does pull you in. You're like, what the hell? So, I like it so far. On page 35, and finally talking about a character I know, Ellen Grant. But the other stuff was very, very interesting, so it's really cool to have those other scenes in there explaining a lot of the stuff of people finding out about the dinosaurs and not believing it. Pretty cool. I wanted to update page 72. I tried previously recording this, and I guess I didn't hit record. I hit the photo button. So I talked for a few minutes just to myself, I guess. I didn't even realize it wasn't recording. But I wanted to talk about the differences. There's quite a few. There's certain similarities to the movie in the beginning, but there's a lot of differences. I can see why they did that for a movie, because you only have a certain amount of time, and there's certain parts that they need to show and visually show in a movie. In this, you get more in depth with these characters. Like, John Hammond is made out to be more evil in this because he's very eccentric, which I kind of guess he kind of was a little bit in the movie, but he's very kind of like rude, where everything's about himself. He doesn't care about what anybody has to say unless there's like a certain topic, and then he's like all interested. But yeah, he just cares about himself and his island, and you know, they're like, we've heard that there's been deaths on the island, and they blame it on construction when it's obvious dinosaurs. And he's just like, oh, but nobody's died in a few months. Like, making excuses like, oh, it doesn't matter. And then it's just crazy. And there's that Gennaro guy, that investor who was doing the inspection. You get to kind of know him more, and you find out he has a wife and daughter, which kind of makes it sad because in the movie he dies. I wonder if he dies in this book too, the same way. But so it's just very interesting, and they're about to all be in the helicopter together, the same people who were in the helicopter in the movie, like Ian Malcolm, Gennaro, Hammond, Alan, and Ellie. They're all gonna go in the helicopter together to the island, and they have no idea what's going on. Even Gennaro, who is an investor, who's doing with an inspection because the EPA is trying to investigate them. They know something's going on because there's been those little green dinosaur sightings on islands nearby. And they're just like, something's going on. There's so many different signs of something wrong, like, you know, illegals going on or something. And so now they're doing this inspection and stuff so they can let the EPA know, and then hopefully get through their stuff. And but yeah, you already know how everything's gonna go down basically. But it's just crazy to me how these characters are. Still don't know too much. I mean, you don't know too much of the personality of Ellen and Ellie yet in this book, and I'm wondering if it's going to be similar to the movie. But Hammond just seems completely different, so we'll see how that goes. It's been a few days since I've updated on the book, so it's crazy. Like, I don't remember the last part I was on. I think, they were going to the helicopter, right? They get to the land, and it's there's a lot of differences but similarities. I think I've said before, it's just these different, if you know the movie and you're reading the book, you're like, this is different. But, you know, they get there, and then they see those dinosaurs when they first get there, and then they go to their hotel rooms, which aren't, like, finished yet because the resort's, like, the last thing on their mind right now because they're not going to open the park for probably another year. They go meet, and they don't go to any of that restaurant. Remember how they go to that restaurant in the movie and, like, have this conversation? They don't even go there. They just all go to set up to start going on this tour. And then the kids get there. So in the movie, the kids get there after they do all the lab tour. They get there before the car tour. And so the kids go in the lab. And here, get this. The kids are complete opposites. So Lex is 8 years old and Tim is 11. So Tim is older and Lex is the younger one. In the movie, it was opposite. And they talk more in depth than this in the labs and stuff, into these different people. And then, of course, Dr. Henry Rue is there and explains a lot of stuff to them. And then Malcolm is still the way he is. You know, he's very, very smart, and he just by the information he's getting, he's saying this isn't gonna work and everything, and everyone who's working there is like mad at him, saying that yes, this will work, why are you saying it's not gonna work? He's like, by what you told me, because he's a mathematician and he's like very smart when it comes to that, and he knows things about animals. So and then there's like that little raptor scene where the baby is there. It didn't hatch, it was like already a baby, and it's a little different. And then in this one, Dr. Grant loves kids. Like in the movie, he hated kids, and he loves kids in this one. It's so weird. And he loves Tim because Tim knows everything about dinosaurs because he's so smart about it. They eventually go on to start the car tour, which is a little bit different, but you know, they're going into the park in the cars. And then you know how like Gennaro, the investor, was in the car with the kids? Not in this one. This one, it's like this guy named Ed, who he is the one who's in the car. He's like the tour guide. They're like their main tour guide with them in the car. So he's the one who's in the car with Lex and Tim. And then in the other car, it's Ellie, Grant, Gennaro, and Malcolm. They're about to reach the Tyrannosaurus Rex area. So I'm wondering if all of them are going to be involved in that part. We'll see how it goes. I'm watching Rebecca, and it has similar vibes to the Mexican Gothic book I read, and I like them. And I know this is based off of a book, so Mexican Gothic probably got it from this. So this movie is intriguing. I only watch a little bit at a time because Claire's distracted. So when she's distracted, I try to fit something in. I read a little bit more. I'm still reading. Claire is napping. It took her a while to go down, but I watched that movie Rebecca all the way through while she was not going to sleep, and then she finally went to sleep, and I'm reading the book. But they passed that Tyrannosaurus Rex area. They didn't stop there. I mean, they stopped and then watched the T-Rex eat the goat, and then it left. And then they go on and they stop at where that dinosaur is sick, you know how like in the movie, but that was before the Tyrannosaurus Rex part, but this time it was after, and they all get out, and then they all figure out why the dinosaur is sick, and then Ellie does decide to stay, but also Gennaro decides to stay, that lawyer. So the people going back in the cars are Grant and Malcolm. They're in the back car, and in the front car is Tim, Lex, and their tour guide, Ed. But anyways, while they're out in the field with that dinosaur, Grant finds dinosaur eggs there rather than, you know how he finds them like way later in the movie. He finds them there, and they discuss the stats through the car because the car can hear them, and they're checking stats. And Hammond is such like a fucking asshole in this. I hate him in this book. Like in the movie he was a lot better, but yeah, he's an a-hole, and you know, he doesn't like people calling him out on his shit, and then he blames other people for the problems. So when they found out that they have more dinosaurs than they should have because they're breeding, Henry Wu was like, that's impossible, they're female, and you know, Malcolm does the life finds a way thing, but and then Hammond blames it on Wu, like, this is your fault, this is why it's happening, and blah blah blah. It's just ridiculous. But Grant was asking if he used reptile DNA and specifically frog DNA, and Wu's like, I'm gonna have to check, and he's like, check it, you'll have your answer of to why they're breeding. So that's cool. But anyways, they get back in the car. Says he had to discuss something in private with Dr. Grant, so now that's what part I'm on. So, but I just think this whole thing is interesting, how some similar parts are still happening, and there's certain things that are different, or they're just out of order, and then different characters. So it's, and then you get a lot more backstory. I really like the backstory and the more information of the system, the park, the scientific stuff, and then of course Malcolm in this book goes off of chaos theory like the whole time, but he's a smart guy, so it's fun to read. I like it. But of course the movie will always be number one in my heart. I wanted to go where I left off. I think it was when they leave Ellie and Gennaro with that one guy, the veterinarian, and they get in the car, and Grant and Malcolm are in the one car, and the kids and the tour guide Ed are in the front car, and they continue going, but when they're on this like kind of cliff area, the cars stop and lose electricity all around the park, of course, and the cars are stopped, and they see the beach, and they see the ship that's leaving at the dock, and there's raptors on the ship. And so Grant is like, we gotta get a hold of them because they can't reach the main land. Like, dinosaurs can't reach the main land, you know, and so of course they can't reach, all the power's out. And then of course the T-Rex comes, and it's similar to the movie, just still there's some differences. The tour guide leaves them, but he doesn't die right away. He eventually gets killed by the baby T-Rex. But the big T-Rex comes, and it's almost similar with the whole Tim and Lex car thing. Similar. You think Lex dies, but then you find out she doesn't. But Tim goes down in the car in the trees, but Grant's not there to help him out. He ends up getting out himself, and he finds Lex in the pike, and and then Grant eventually finds them, and they don't know where Malcolm is because Malcolm was thrown by the T-Rex, kind of like basically the same as the movie. And then Ellie and them find him later, his legs all torn up. Grant and the kids have to figure out, what's next. They do see Ed get killed by the baby T-Rex. Movie, Grant already knows that if you don't move, they can't see you, but in this one, he figures that out when he's not moving. Oh yeah, you're talking too, telling us the story. So yeah, there's these differences, and then they go back to talking with like Hammond and Lou, and then they find out, that Dennis, he did the whole stealing the DNA and putting in the Barbasol thing, takes the Jeep, and then he gets killed almost basically the same way in the movie, but they describe it in this, where he gets his guts taken out. Of course, they don't show that in Jurassic Park movie. So they don't have the right cars. That guy, I forgot the character's name already, but the guy, who's like the hunter, they needed a car, so they need that vet's Jeep and stuff, so they were able to finally get through to the radio on the Jeep, and so they tell them to come back. So they all go, Ellie and Gennaro and that guy, they all go back, and they find out what's going on, like, oh crap, the electricity, we need to go find. They all go together, I think, to go find the other cars and make sure everybody's okay. And they find that the cars are empty, but they see footprints, so they're thinking that everybody should be okay. And then they find Malcolm and stuff. And then they find the Ed. They find Ed's leg, so they know he's dead. So yeah, I don't know if that's where. And now they decide to, instead of continue looking for Grant and the kids, to take Malcolm back because he needs emergency medical help like now. So they go and take him back. And I think that's where I left off. But it's really fun read. Love me some 50 Shades. Last I updated, I think it was when they were taking Malcolm back to the building so that he can get medical help. And it's just there's bit differences, like Arnold is still alive unless that whole thing, Samuel Jackson's character, unless some of the stuff happens later, but he's the one who gets the systems working again. He has to shut down the system and get them working again to get power and phones working, and he gets that to happen. And then with Grant and the kids, how they fall asleep in the tree in the movie, they go up in a tree, stay there for a little bit, but then they find this like area where there's dino food that's locked up in this big building, and they go in there and sleep in there and find safe haven in there. And then they eventually are like, okay, we need to get out, and so they get out of there. And then that whole part, where there's the herd of dinosaurs and the T-Rex comes, that part happens, but it's a little different, and they hide in a tall tree, until all the stuff goes away. And then when they're trying to figure out a way back, they find a raft, and they find like blueprints of like the land, and so they're like, okay, let's take the raft down this river to reach the buildings faster, or we can find more safe haven or phones or something, because they notice the electricity's working again. But as they're starting down the raft, they see the T-Rex sleeping, and they're trying not to get him to wake up. Eventually wakes up and sees them, and as they're going down the river, and he's walking in the water because it's not that deep, and he's like head high, almost like looked like a crocodile is what Grant said. That part's crazy, and they go down the river, and then they go into this pterodactyl area, and they realize that they're mean. So then they get back on the raft and go, and Grant was working with the raft, but now there's a current there, so they're just going along with the current. And the way this whole thing happens is like, there's this one part where he tells the kids to lay down and he's gonna watch out or whatever. And just that whole part just kind of reminded me of Bird Box. You know how towards the end where she has those two kids hiding and they're all blindfolded in this raft as they're going down and there's stuff all around. It just kind of reminded me of that, so it makes me think that like Bird Box maybe took this part from Jurassic Park in a way as an idea. And so that's what it kind of reminded me of. And then last thing with Grant and the kids is they reach this area where there's these where's these poisonous dinosaurs. And they're kind of staying in the boat, I think, because they're waiting for the dinosaurs to kind of go away. And they see the T-Rex, because the T-Rex loses them later on. T-Rex gets caught in the foliage of the land, and he can't get through, and he sees them. He's wanting them because he wants the raft, but then there's those other dinosaurs, so they kind of get a distraction, but I don't think they've run out yet. And then Malcolm does some more talk about his theories on the park with Ellie, and yeah, I hate Hammond in this book. He doesn't even care about that the kids are lost. Like, I mean, he cares, but the way he's acting is like, the park's for kids. They're gonna be fine out there. And it's like, dude, there's dinosaurs everywhere and they're in the park. I can't believe you're acting like this. So, yeah, so right now, Gennaro and Muldoon, you know, like the Australian guy from the movie, they're in a Jeep and they're trying to find the T-Rex, and they finally found him caught in the foliage and they're trying to tranquilize him. So we'll see what happens there. It's kind of fun because you don't know what's gonna happen because it's different. And I love that. I love that you can read something that was a movie and it's different. Because there are times where you read a book first and you see the movie and you're like, God, this movie sucked. Or there are very occasional where the movie is better than the book. Like this year I read Normal People after watching the show on Hulu, and the show I liked much better. Usually the book's better. Let's just say this. Usually the book is better, but there are those occasional times where the movie's better. And in my case, we'll see how this goes. I think they're just different. And I just like them both a lot. But, you know, like I've already stated multiple times in this video, that the movie, there's a special place in my heart, but the book is still great. And I'm on page 336 right now. I don't know if Claire's gonna wake up from her nap. Oh, it's kind of cold outside. Claire's playing out here. My brother got her this cute t-ball thing that she only played with the first day, and now she just wants me to do it because I hit the balls far. I did hit one over our neighbor's fence, but they threw it back. All my old softball days are coming to me. But I finished the book and it was awesome. I gave it a 5 out of 5 because this was, since I last updated you, I mean, of course, I've said there's been differences like throughout, with some similarities and like same characters and stuff, but it's been completely different, like the rest of the book, and it's surprising. A lot of surprising elements that came with it, different scenes that never happened in the movie, and I understand it would have been hard or maybe too violent, or you know, they went a different direction with the movie, which is understandable because it aimed more towards kids, like when we were growing up. But where I left off was when they were trying to tranquilize that T-Rex, and he missed the first time. He didn't know if he missed or got him the second time because they had to like run. And then the T-Rex leaves towards the waterfall where Grant and the kids go down this waterfall, and then they hide behind the waterfall, and there's doors behind there, and Grant goes in one of the doors to see what's out there or what they can do, and he runs into a raptor in there, but he tranquilizes it with his little tranquilizer dart. And hi baby, oh, you want to go inside now? Okay. Grant goes in the door and he tells the kids to stay out because he didn't know what dangers were there. So they're behind the waterfall, but the T-Rex finds them somehow. Why did I try to put my glasses on? And the T-Rex finds them, like he smells them, I think. he puts his head through the waterfall and he's trying to eat them and stuff, and it's so cool. And then he actually grabs Timmy with his tongue, almost eats him, and then he ends up falling. It's like that Muldoon actually hits him with a tranquilizer. It just took a while, and he falls down, and Tim didn't get eaten, thank God. And then they go with Grant, and then it's just like this whole thing of everybody trying to work together because the raptors are just surrounding all these buildings, and they're trying to turn the power back on because they realized the power was running on auxiliary. Power is dead now, and so they need to turn the main power back on. So they're doing that thing, you know, how Ellie did in the movie, but she doesn't do any of that. But Arnold still dies the way he dies. Muldoon doesn't die. A lot of people don't die, and there's people who do die in this book. Where it says, at the end, it says Ian Malcolm dies, but he's in the second book. So they come up with something that he didn't actually die. But Henry Wu dies by raptors on the roof, and he opens the window and it attacks him, and he falls out the window and they eat him. John Hammond actually dies by getting eaten by compies because he's vulnerable and old, and he's injured and stuff because he falls down this hill. And yeah, he dies. And I was kind of actually happy about that because I hated him in this book. If he was like the character in the movie, I would have been sad about it. Ellie's trying to be a distraction for them to turn the power on and stuff, and she ends up climbing a tree, and the raptor's climbing the tree, and she jumps on this roof, and the raptor follows her onto the roof, and her only option is to jump off into the pool that's below, but it's kind of far off, so she does a run jump, lands in the pool, actually makes it, and she's nervous that the raptor's gonna come and follow her, but somebody opens the roof door, and then the raptor goes towards that, so she was able to get out. And then the whole like computer thing, Lex doesn't do any of that because she's only like 8 in this book. Timmy, he's not a computer nerd, but he knows a little bit. He tried to figure it out, so he ended up helping with the computer system to try to help turn the main power on and do certain things with like unlocking doors and stuff. And then there's this amazing scene where Grant is trying to distract the raptors, and he takes them into this biohazard area, finds these like biohazard like injectable things. I'm not even sure what they were, and he's in this raptor room, or where all these dino eggs are. I don't know for sure if they were raptors, but dino eggs are, and he had 3 raptors follow him, injects the eggs because they go to movement, injects the eggs with this stuff and throws the egg for movement. And he kept doing that, and they would eat the eggs. They would have like a seizure or something because they would have foaming out of the mouth and die. And so the third one, though, he only had 1 injectable thing left, and he just injected it, and he almost gets killed, but he doesn't. And it's just crazy. Gennaro's still alive, and they're trying to make him like pay because he's the one who put money towards it. He knew it was going down there, but not exactly what John Hammond had in mind. But he knew the park was dangerous, but he didn't know like this. And so they want him to own up to it. So they knew the National Guard was coming. And but they wanted to make sure they knew where the nest eggs were, that they were breeding, and so that they know that they can destroy that when the National Guards get there, because they're obviously going to put the island on fire. And so they end up doing that, checking and make Gennaro go with them to see the raptor nest eggs. Then they talk about how the raptors want to migrate, and they get picked up by the National Guard for the Costa Rican one. They all get picked up and go to Costa Rica, and they all stay in this hotel, and they won't let them leave. And they think Grant knows everything. They think he's in charge. They think he knows everything, and he doesn't. He only knew whatever. John Hammond only gave him money to dig dinosaurs and just for dino information. He didn't know anything about this island. But they won't let him leave because they believe that he knows something. And also they found out that the raptors did migrate to other islands, and so they want them around because they're the experts. But they said that they're going to send the kids home. It's just like the adults that are alive there. They want them to help with any like dinosaurs that are still around, any spottings. So But yeah, it was just really crazy scenes that happen, and Ian Malcolm goes off on a lot of like cool scientific things and theories and mathematics. It's just like really interesting how his mind is, and then how it makes sense. And I mean, he's very confusing the way he explains it, and he tries to explain things different ways, and everyone's like, I still don't understand what this man is saying. But in a way, it makes sense. You see where he's going with things like this is going to work with nature and all this stuff. And people are surprised this happened. He's like, I'm not surprised any of this shit happened. But I do want to read The Lost World. I don't know if I'm not going to do a reading vlog on that one. But I'll read that eventually. Maybe I'll ask for it for Christmas. Because I want to see how they like resurrect Ian Malcolm. Because they said he dies. I don't know. I wonder why, but yeah, he's an interesting character, interesting man. They made him a little bit different in this compared to the movie. But yeah, highly enjoyable. If you, I mean, I probably ruined a lot of stuff, but that's what this reading was for. I'm gonna post it as like it's a reading vlog, Jurassic Park, comparing the book to the movie. So of course there's gonna be spoilers in here. But thank you so much for watching. This vlog. I know it's probably long as shit and I explained a lot. I'm probably all out of orders because I remember things as I'm talking about it. But yeah, thank you for watching this vlog. Thank you for watching. Yeah, oh my goodness. All right, thanks guys. See you later.